Welcome to our homestead, welcome to our kitchen. We are so blessed to have a ton of tomatoes this year, but we need to preserve these or they are going to go bad. In the past, we've done water bath canning, either making sauce or doing stewed tomatoes, but not this year. Today, we are going to show you how to freeze dry tomato sauce. Let's go. Now we already have one tray here made. You can see it's frozen solid. We're going to talk about some tips on how to do this sauce so that it comes out perfectly every time. But first, I have to make the sauce, so let's do that. Everything we are using for our sauce is from our garden. We're so excited, so blessed. We've got our garlic, we've got basil, we've got some oregano, and we've got several different types of tomatoes. Now, normally I wouldn't make sauce out of tomatoes like this, but we have just too many to eat. We've got some Homestead tomatoes in here, we've got some Brandywine tomatoes, and we've got a lot of San Marzanos and Romas, and we also have our blush tiger plums. And of course, we are not immune to insects in our garden. So you can see this one has some hornworm damage, so does that one over there. And this coloration, this weird coloration on this one, that's actually damage from stink bugs. So we also have some splitting on our tomatoes from inconsistent watering, and this is really common in these really large tomatoes like this. It's hard to avoid this. However, we've also got some gorgeous tomatoes here that are just absolutely perfect. So when it comes to making sauce, it really doesn't matter what you use. Let's get to making our sauce. So when you are making your sauce, you don't need to use the garlic or the herbs if you don't want to. You can make it to your liking. We like to add some olive oil and some salt at the beginning, but that's also not necessary. Now, I have found that it is much easier and makes a much better sauce if you cut up your tomatoes and start them on the stove in a pot to begin with. Cook them down a bit and then use a stick blender to blend them into a smooth sauce. It works way better than trying to use a traditional blender like this. We have a lot of tomatoes in this pot. And since we are not using exclusively the paste tomatoes or the sauce tomatoes like the Romas or San Marzanos, there is a lot of juice. So you need to let this cook down a lot. When you're freeze drying sauces, the consistency needs to be a little thicker. So you're going to need to reduce this quite a bit more than you normally would when making a sauce. And that way the freeze drying time will be a lot less than if you left this incredibly watery. So we're going to cook these tomatoes through, and then I'm going to blend it and continue to reduce it until I feel it's a good consistency to pour onto those trays. Here we go, here's our sauce. We've been reducing this for about 7 hours now, and we've reduced it by just over half. We started it with 5.75 quarts, and we were down just under 2.5 quarts. So now we're gonna hit it with the stick blender and see what our consistency is. I'm liking it, but we might need to go a little bit thicker for our freeze drying process. Let's check it out. So this is looking pretty good. It's about the thickness of a store-bought sauce, but I'm gonna let it reduce more so that we have a good thickness for our freeze drying process. Once your sauce is done and it is at a good thickness, pour it onto your freeze drying trays and put them in the freezer to freeze them solid. You always want to pre-freeze everything before putting it in your freeze dryer. Let's show you how our sauce looks on our trays. So here are 2 trays of our sauce. These are 2 different batches, and you can see that we have not filled the trays up all the way. These trays are a 1/2 inch deep. You can fill things up to the top of the tray, but it's recommended that for sauces, you stay about 3/8 of an inch or less. And that's gonna give them the best opportunity to dry in the center. So let's load these into the freeze dryer, and then we will come back when the cycle's done and show you the final product. And of course, how long it took for the sauce to dry. Okay friends, we are back and we actually did some extra drying time just to be safe, and that is quite enough. You can see we're at 29 hours and I'm gonna cancel this. I'm gonna take these out one at a time because I know for a fact that tomatoes will suck up moisture in the air very, very quickly. So if you're doing sauce and it's tomato sauce, you need to get this into your Mylar bags as quick as you can. Here we go. Let's see how this worked with not putting any sill pad on our stainless steel. Oh, look at that. On our stainless steel pan, absolutely no problem. The entire thing comes up. That is so cool. Check this out. I can lift the entire thing of sauce right off. So you do not need the sill pads on this. It had a decent amount of oil in it also. So we're just gonna break it up like this and start putting it in our bags. You know, it actually works really, really well to just cut it with something like this. It does break apart pretty easily, but to make the pieces more manageable and fit inside of our Mylar bags better, just a metal spatula like this seems to work perfect. So here's a little piece of the sauce. I'm going to taste test this, see how it is. Wow. What an explosion of flavor. It's so concentrated, not only from cooking it down farther, but then just the freeze drying process. It is so powerful. If you're interested in freeze drying food and getting one of these freeze dryers, click on the link in the video description. As I talked about in my other video, Harvest Right has a great plan if you cannot initially outright buy one of these. It's like a layaway program, so check it out. So here's the result, almost a 5-ounce bag. Not every one of them is even. I've got 5 bags here, and they're all close to 5 ounces. And then I have just a little bit left over here. So all in all, the 3 full trays filled up to about 3/8 of an inch will yield you just over maybe 27 ounces, maybe 26 ounces, give or take. Well, that's it. It's that simple. That's how you make tomato sauce in your Harvest Right freeze dryer. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments section below. Now go click on this video right here, which shows you how to initially set up your Harvest Right freeze dryer. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time.